Welcome to the Barker Podcast Collection.
Welcome to the Not Playing Podcast. My name's Rob Howard, and this week I'm joined by
Iain Bruce
and Patrick Kane.
You can contact us on email at notplayingpodcast@gmail.com or follow us on Twitter at notplayingpod. Okay, time to talk about some games you've actually been playing, and I've been waiting a long time to talk about this now.
Patrick's yawning already.
Almost an eternity.
Yeah. Well, Pillars of Eternity is a game that I backed on Kickstarter, and I expected it to be out a while ago, but the scope of the game was massively changed when 77,000 people backed it. I think the game raised almost $4 million on Steam, on Kickstarter rather, and now it's finally out after early access beta. It's finally released in full glorious form. Now, it definitely makes no apologies of its origins. It's definitely a love letter to the old RPGs of old, the Baldur's Gates and the Icewind Dales, which I fondly remember playing over many weekends in co-op, as unwieldy as that might have been. You play these games basically by assigning an action, then pressing pause, and literally me, Adam, who has often been on the show, and Mike, we would literally set up with some beers, and we would go, "What are we doing? Oh, okay, okay. Well, I'm going to cast a fireball, and then I'm going to send my dude up to fight this guy." And we would do this on a LAN, and so we'd be like, "Right, okay, everyone ready? Okay, unpause." So they'd do that, and then pause it immediately. And then what are we going to do next? Honestly, this would go on for hours.
That's not how you played the game. That's how you played the game.
That's how we played the game in co-op. That's kind of how you have to play it in co-op, because it's just too crazy. Because what these games are is they're essentially Dungeons and Dragons, but everything is happening concurrently. A lot of these recent games, of these like top-down RPG games, they've been they've used a turn-based model,
right, where
everyone gets their initiative, you do your action, then the enemy does theirs, and it's a much more to be honest, I prefer that. So it's taken a bit of getting used to again, having this sort of pause play. In addition to this, what it's missing from those old games is there's no AI scripting whatsoever. So normally, well, there is some very basic AI scripting in that if there's a dude that's near an enemy, he will beat him with his stick, But
you mean scripting for the other members of your party?
Yeah,
right, okay.
they if you send them off into melee, they will continue bashing things. But if you tell them to do like my main character's a barbarian, and he'll do like his angry frenzy roar thing. If I do that on him, he won't just immediately start attacking after that. I have to tell him to do that afterwards.
So there's no like default moves you can do, or
no. In all these old games, you would basically you would be like, there would be a number of scripts, and they would be like, don't attack until I attack, or attack whatever's attacking me, or only use melee unless they only use ranged unless they come within a certain range. Then you get your knife out and attack like that. In this version of the game, because they've built it from scratch, they've not put any of that in, and now they're saying that they are going to put in some AI scripting when they do the expansion. So I think this is another reason they're doing the expansion thing, because they haven't quite finished what they want to do. But I think it's a little bit of an oversight, and it's very taxing early on in the game when you've got like bugger all hit points and you're coming up against enemies and you're not really sure how strong they are, and unless you're really you've got to be on the quick save all the way through this, because you'll just turn around a corner and there'll be like 5 wolves that will just decimate you or something. That after playing it, I'm about 10 hours in now, and I'm at the point now where I can comfortably play the game, and because I've got a full party of 6, it's no big deal if I run into 5 gobos or whatever, because it's likely that at least one of my dudes will survive the encounter. or won't be because you don't die as such, you get knocked down unconscious. It's weird. You've got health and endurance, and basically the way that the game does its difficulty is by it regulates the amount you can rest. And I thought this was quite interesting, and there's a lot of other things about the game that are really well thought out and streamlined. So I'll get to those to sort of balance out my argument. But what it does is you've got a certain amount of times you can rest when you're out doing your dungeoneering. So at the moment I can rest a maximum of 4 times. When you do a combat, what happens is your endurance slowly gets chipped away, and you can boost stats to make it better, but essentially that endurance stat defines kind of how much punishment your character can take between rests. A lot of the abilities you get will be per encounter, which is useful because it means that every time you go into a fight, you've always got those abilities to hand. But then some of the like the wizard spells or whatever, they'll only be usable per day, so between the next time you actually properly rest.
Wizards
so
are rubbish,
I thought that was quite. Yeah, they are. But what is cool about wizards is if you take out an enemy wizard, which I did earlier, I've done it. I've killed a couple actually. You get their grimoire, and you can learn the spells out of their grimoire, and then keep their grimoire and actually set up a different loadout in that grimoire. So you could go, I just swap this out for my fire spells. And you can there's actually an ability that allows you to do that quickly, which is cool. So you can actually effectively prepare more spells than you would normally.
Cool, that's good.
So that's pretty cool. There's some really interesting classes, some of which I'm only really getting to grips with just now. There's one called a chanter, which I think is like a bard. I've just met this character. He's one of the main companions that you meet along your travels, and he's got a rifle, but he's also he has these chants which you set up, which are these different spells that have these abilities that trail off, and then another one activates, and then another one activates after that, and then he gets spells, but he can only activate these spells when he's done his chants for a certain amount of time, which makes him very much like a supporting character who basically buffs the team, and then if the combat's going on too long, he can kind of mop up by summoning monsters or doing some other pretty decent spell. There's some interesting races. All the lore is been generated by Obsidian themselves. It's not based on any third-party material. And what else did I want to say? It's just quite. Oh yeah, I've just got to the point now where I've got a stronghold which I can actually upgrade parts of, and below this stronghold is what they call the Endless Paths, and it's a 15 level dungeon that is 15 levels deep, because that was a Kickstarter. What's it called?
Stretch goal.
So they basically, at the end of the crowdfunding campaign, they went, right, okay, every extra $100,000 we get, there's going to be an extra level to this dungeon. So it's 15 levels deep.
Wow, the Star Citizen dungeon is going to go on for eternity.
Yeah, even more eternity. Oh yeah, the other cool thing about this game is I didn't spend too much time agonising on my my own character that I created, because literally the first tavern you get to, it says, oh, were you looking for any help on your travels? And you basically go in from the dungeon, from the tavern menu. There's a whole interface that basically allows you to create your own adventurers. So you can go, oh, well, I'll have a monk, and I'll meet a wizard, and you can basically build up an entire party, as long as you've got the money, of your own custom adventurers. I made up like a druid, little weird female druid that turns into like a werecat and smashes people up, and she's still in my party. So I've got a full party of 6 two of which are my own creations, 4 of which are characters out of the game. So I thought that was really decent. And also, finally, philosophically, there was an article on Polygon, and philosophically, they've really changed up the approach to this game, where most of these games are about brutally min-maxing your characters, and, you know, it's so possible to screw up your build by choosing the wrong feats and abilities. They have actively built their system to negate that. So, for example, you can create a barbarian with high intelligence, means that his abilities last longer. So even if he's not as strong, his buffs will be more, longer lasting. And there's myriads of ways that you can build characters without actually gimping yourself. And the fact that you can change out your party, like I mentioned, the stronghold, which you can build out in different ways. You can get hirelings that prevent your stronghold from being overtaken, and you can also send out your adventurers on other quests like you could in Star Wars The Old Republic, like off on little missions to do things for you. Characters that you've created or met in the game. So like it's
Dear listener,
it's
Rob is
really
very
brilliant.
passionate about this. You can see it in his crazy man eyes while he's telling us. It's good. It sounds great.
Well,
it does sound good.
I am. I'm not without my reservations. Like I said, the lack of AI scripting in the combat is noticeably awkward, and getting back used to that old school combat, especially after playing Dragon Age Inquisition and literally having everything automated, took a bit of getting used to. And the graphics, they're still quite crude. The spell effects though are lovely. When you cast fireballs and everything, that all just looks fantastic, and the art itself is amazing, and the fact that you can like zoom in and out so far now, the fact that it's all built for like a big screen. You play those old Black Isle games now, they're made for like a tiny little 14-inch monitor. and like you can patch them to fill the whole screen, but they're so clearly designed for that layout that you end up with this just so much on the screen. It's just like, it's not really that great an experience, but this they've really thought this through, and also for an Obsidian game, like South Park last year, very few bugs. So I've not noticed any problems as in the game hangs together perfectly well. So yeah, excellent. I'll shut up now if you like.
What engine does it use?
Actually, I think it might be Unity.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Did you just Google that?
No, Unity on Facebook this week had look, 5 of the games in the top 10 on Metacritic at the moment are all Unity games.
Yeah, I think it is, That's good to know, isn't it? The fact that it's like, Unity 3D.
So it's not very often, and it's a shame really, but it's not very often you see Unity games going for full whack on Steam. It's 35 quid, I think. But good for them.
Yeah,
it's good.
Well, I paid $20. That was my Kickstarter pledge. But yeah, I don't see why they shouldn't. I'm glad they've got the balls to put this out at full whack and go, this is a full price game. There's everything in it that was in those old games back in the day. I know the goalposts have moved now.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What's the story like in it?
Well, the story actually is about it's all to do with souls,
right?
And I'm only starting to very slowly uncover what's going on, but essentially your character becomes a watcher, and that basically means that he's able to make contact with the previous souls of characters in the game. In some cases, some of these watchers have turned completely mad, and so I think the essential gist of the main quest line is to find a MacGuffin to stop yourself from going mad from having all these visions.
Right.
But it's very nicely handled actually, and the writing, I can't believe I didn't even get to this. The writing is fantastic. Considering there's a lot of writing in the game. It's very, very well done, and all the there's like sub quests going on as well with different characters. Like it's like the Baldur's Gate games where you'd come across a character, they'd have a quest that you'd help them out on, and they'd help you out on yours. But yeah, I don't know who the main villain is yet, although I have come across some main characters who I didn't expect to be villains, and they were, and it's like, what? But yeah, the story story
Romford,
is the yeah. No, the story is definitely top notch. They are massively selling this on that. So.
Awesome. I just ask because I just think that's massively important in a role-playing game, really, isn't it? If you're just kind of spoon-fed some kind of generic light versus dark nonsense, for me that can kind of ruin a perfectly good RPG mechanic just by having a bit of a lame story there. So.
Well, that's why I lost my rag with Divinity in the end, because for all its flaws and its unbalancing and the nonsense and the trying to figure out where to go next, I would have forgiven it all of that if it had a compelling enough story, but it was just silliness. And Pillars of Eternity definitely succeeds where that game failed on just about every count so far, from the fact that the story's decent, the fact that the interface is so nice and streamlined for what it is, the fact that the crafting is literally just like, oh, you can make this now because you picked up this stuff, Oh, and like I found out that I was just looking at the weapon I had equipped, and it said enhance. So I clicked on that, and it went, oh yeah, you can make this a fine weapon now because you've picked up this stuff. So cool. Brilliant. Like, yeah. I don't want to know what any of that stuff is. Just let me make my fucking axe better, Don't let me fucking have to Google how to do that, Jesus.
I completely agree, mate.
Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty good so far.
Cool.
Very much enjoying it, and would recommend, with the caveat being that, yeah, it's old school. You have to sort of forget that, like, 15 years didn't happen in some cases. Yeah. So, yeah, what... anyone else been playing anything? I know you've been playing Ori and the Blind Forest.
Another
is that
Unity
right?
game.
Yeah, another Unity game. Yeah, it's a great game. It is almost without doubt the prettiest 2D game I've ever seen. Absolutely gorgeous, bags of atmosphere. Just it's got a bit of a Limbo feel to it, but there's also like very much a kind of nod to the Metroid mechanic. Basically, they've made a platformer game which is it's weird, really. It sort of has a nod to kind of earlier stuff, kind of like 90s era platforming, I guess. It's a lot harder than those screenshots might imply. So the bit I'm on at the moment, I have actually been stuck on for about a week.
Oh no!
If that kind of explains how hard it can actually get, but it really is great for it as well. It's a really kind of fun. And it's challenging to like the right degree. As I say, the art design is absolutely beautiful. The music is fantastic. They've got like you can sort of tell that the studio is made up of, developers from all over the world. There's a definite kind of Japanese vibe you can feel in there. It's just such a gorgeous game, and yeah, if you enjoyed stuff like Limbo, I would definitely say give it a try.
It looks like there's like a similar sort of locomotion to like Sonic, like just looking at the gameplay videos.
Not quite. There's kind of sections really where
in places.
The pace kind of picks up a little bit. And yeah, this is one thing that's sort of interesting and unique about it, that there's a mechanic where if there's a projectile fired at you, this happens sort of after a few hours of gameplay. It's not an ability at the start, but when a projectile is fired near you, when it's very close, you can hit a button, and that will basically pause the world, and then you can aim with this kind of arrow around the main character, and then launch in the direction. So you basically kind of steal the energy of the projectile and use that to do these really high jumps. But it's a really, really clever mechanic, and it kind of opens up all these kind of different platforming puzzles. But yeah, it's just really cool. Like I say, if you like those kind of Metroid games, or you liked, Limbo, it's a really gorgeous game.
So, do you control both of those characters?
No,
you're just the little white dude.
So far, at the point I'm at now, I'm only sort of about a few hours in. It's only the little guy. I don't want to say any more than that because spoilers.
Okay, all right.
So, yeah, it's just the little guy.
Oh no, I'm definitely going to try and get to this, but
I think you'd love it, man, because you love like Rayman and stuff like that, don't you?
Oh yeah, I've got plenty of time for 2D stuff.
Yeah.
In fact, I've been playing some 2D stuff of my own. Might as well get to it now. I've been playing Super Time Force Ultra, which is I think it came out at the end of last year, and it's pixel art all the way. But the conceit of this is that basically you're running around, and at any point, if you at any point, you can elect to wind back time and then respawn as another one of your team. There's I think by the end of the game, I had about 8 different characters I could play as, each one of them having a different kind of melee ranged attack or whatever. But the thing is, if you save yourself from dying, you kind of double up your power, and also you gain extra lives that prevent you from having to wind back time again. There's 6 different areas. There's like a prehistoric world. There's a 90s world, which is basically Mad Max, because the thing about the game is quite funny actually, because you're not really fixing anything. You're kind of ruining everything as you go around through these levels and kill people you probably shouldn't and stuff. So at the end of each level, you get this replay. And I saved all of these out of my Shadow Play and put them all on YouTube, so you can watch my entire playthrough in about 30 minutes. Because
that was a lot of videos, my friend.
Yeah, but the reason I did it was because it would only be 30 minutes in total, because it takes you a while to get through each level, but when the replay plays everything back concurrently, so you can see where you did a time boost,
gotcha.
and it had 20 versions of yourself firing at one thing just because you needed to do so much damage in such a small amount of time. A lot of the boss segments as well work so that even if you've got guys firing in certain directions, they're still going to hit the boss no matter at what point of death he's at. It's quite cleverly well designed like that. But yeah, it's a little bit silly. I think it lasted me about 8 hours in the end. It's quite tricky. I'm sure if you were much more skilled than me, you could probably run through the game and not have to use all the lives like I did. And, I don't know. But yeah, it's, I think the reason I've got, because Super Time Force came out, I think originally on Xbox, like way over a year ago. And Super Time Force Ultra is like the Ultra bit is for the new game plus mode you open at the end of the game, where you basically have to do everything. And I don't think you can only rewind time under a certain condition or something. But it's like an uber hard mode. So there's plenty of game in there. So yeah, I played that. Have you played anything, Ian?
I've been playing not very much, but I have played some Elder Scrolls Online as that went free to... that removed the subscription very recently. And it's been a good one to dip in and out when I've got half an hour and stuff.
They haven't actually done the relaunch yet, have they?
They kind of have. It's been... I mean, if you look at the website and stuff, it's been labelled as Tamriel Unlimited and shit, which is a bit cheesy. But
yeah, that's right.
There's been a massive influx of players, which is really, really good. Not that it was... I mean, it had a lot of players previously, but now the starting zones at least there's a lot of people there. I haven't got very far. I'm taking my time and trying to be a completist or a completionist, whatever the right word is, for the bits that I kind of did with the previous character. And I'm really enjoying it, just as something to, it's Skyrim enough to feel familiar, but it's not so Skyrim that I feel I've got to go look at underneath every crate for shit, or go and listen to everybody's tale of woe and do everything they require of me. It feels, for me anyway, more casual in the same way that Lotro did, where I can just pop in for a bit, do a bit, feel good for having spent 45 minutes in it and come back to it a couple of days later or a week later and just pick it up. I am completely ignoring the plot. I'm skipping through all the quest missions, but I've done that in MMOs for years. Really don't fucking care. Since that kid sitting on the pier in WoW, mister, my sister dropped my necklace in the lake. That was the last MMO quest that I gave a shit about. And now it's just, right, where is it? How many flibbles do I need to kill? And I'm off. To be fair, there isn't a lot of flibble killing in this. It seems to be more, there's a lot of story stuff and way too much voice acting in a good way. What's his name?
I was going to say, this is like, this is like Elder Scrolls, man. This is like serious lore. There's none of this nonsense. Yeah, it's not.
I really liked WoW until the fucking spaceships arrived, and then I bought that expansion.
I didn't see any of that.
Yeah, I bought the expansion and grinded that character up to 50 or 60, whatever it was at the time. But it was just It used to feel a bit fantasy, and now they're just throwing shit in so they can do Kessel Run jokes.
Sorry, there's spaceships in WoW.
Yeah, that was quite a few expansions ago. A spaceship crashed in one of the zones.
Wow, I missed that.
And the last one had giant pandas riding on the back of a turtle. To be fair, that was quite nice. I have played the panda character, but I mean, they just.
I know about the pandas, but the UFO that's new to me.
I don't really like the mix of genres with that. Maybe I'm just a snob. Pretty sure I am. I like my fantasy to either be one or the other. And this manages.
WoW was always.
Yeah, I mean, WoW was always kooky, and it always had bits in there that you think, what? There's a gnome driving a fucking robot. What is going on?
They put Plants vs Zombies in it. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. And that's okay, but this feels much more like a proper or like a fantasy world of literature, as the Elder Scrolls, the Skyrim stuff does. It feels like a living, breathing world from a novel that was written 50 years ago that everybody goes, oh, wow, have you read this book? Without it being the only book people have read, like Lord of the Rings or other such things, because it's cool and hip. And I really enjoy it. And I'm not sure how much it is to buy. I'm fairly sure I bought it when it came out foolishly. But there's a lot of people. The quests are really good. It's not just go and kill a ton of shit. You feel like you're moving forward with things. I can really tell you what it is. I've been skipping them all, but I'm definitely not going and killing 20 of these. There's a lot of talking that I skip through. It's a brain. It switches my brain off and it fills my time without having to think about work or coding or anything that has been quite overwhelming over the last few months.
Yeah, sure enough, as I predicted weeks ago on here, when I pointed out how cheap Elder Scrolls Online was to buy, like 10 quid or whatever it was on CD keys, the Tamriel Unlimited version is back up to $28.90. So, but even at that price, it's still not the most expensive MMO out there by a long way.
It's a huge game. I think in total I've probably put 40 hours into it, and that includes the character that I played when it came out. Really not a lot of time at all, not days and days, at a go anyway. And I haven't quite finished the starting zone yet.
Right.
And I've not been dying a lot. I've been, and that includes me skipping through the text stuff. If they're either saying well done or here's another quest, and I really don't care. But the world looks beautiful, and people seem very friendly, which is always a good thing in an MMO. There aren't a load of dicks getting in the way or just I played WoW recently with my wife, and when we got to Goldshire, there was like 3 level 90s and 3 elves, half-naked elves, being prostituted in the front, outside the inn.
My God, it's
Jesus,
the Wild
what
West.
the fuck is going on? Yeah, we'll take you behind this bush and... Wife, we're going somewhere else. This is not... Obviously, she didn't play it again, but...
This is not the MMO we're looking for.
But, you know, it seemed much more friendly and everybody was enjoying themselves and people were helpful without... Oh, why didn't you fucking help me?
Have you been doing, like, grouping in that, or just doing your own thing?
The dungeons... There are some instanced dungeons, but most of them you can go in with other people. Just you go in, other people are in there, you do stuff together, and I really enjoy that because it means you can. If you're a solo player, which I tend to be the older I get, if you wait for a group to go in and then wait a couple of minutes and then go in after them, and you can just kind of. Like a museum tour where you attach yourself to a group being shown round. It's that kind of thing. you can do that, and then we've killed everyone. Well done, everyone.
Skips the end.
Yeah. But I really love how it looks. The hero engine was used by the Old Republic as well, and I always had a thing about that in that it just felt like it was a fantasy engine being forced into sci-fi. But as a fantasy engine, it looks chuffing beautiful. Really, it really does. The characters feel a bit light, maybe. I always felt the Skyrim characters they felt like they'd been standing there waiting for you to come up and say hello for a number of years, and they felt tired and worn and stuff. And these feel slightly like they're just off the production line, which is okay. I mean, there's a lot of people in there.
I don't know. Skyrim characters used to go around and do stuff like the blacksmith.
Yeah, but they always
used to wander around.
They looked like they'd been blacksmithing for a while and stuff instead of "Hi, I'm the elf," which is I've just finished elf school and here I am. I'm an elf, which some things can do, and it all works really well. I think if they ever move to the free-to-play and microtransaction model. They do have microtransactions, but it's not for stuff that you need. It's not pay to win. It's more fluff.
Well, Elder Scrolls is effectively free-to-play, isn't it?
Once you bought the game, yeah. It's like Guild Wars 2.
Yeah, it's had all that stuff, yeah.
But it was only this month that the subscription was dropped. So that's why people have gone in.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing really gating you off from any content, though, right?
I've only got. I've done some bits in the next zone, but I certainly haven't got far enough to know that there's going to be a paywall saying, I'm sorry, traveller, you must spend £20 to access this gate. And
I'm guessing they're going to do that, though.
So it's fine.
Yeah, I'm guessing they're going to do that with add-ons, though, aren't they?
I don't know. I really don't know. I think there's enough support for the franchise, if you want to call it that it could run for years. It could run for, as long as Lotro has or the other ones have.
Sure, but they'll need that revenue to come in from somewhere, and I imagine they'll do it with like DLC and stuff.
Yeah, maybe. Don't know.
Yeah, but like there's still a huge game there, so
yes,
it's like
if you want to
have
dip into a fantasy world that feels like a fantasy world. And is familiar if you enjoyed Skyrim, it's probably worth a look. I'm not sure I'd spend 30 quid on it to dip in and out of. Also been playing Elite Wings, Elite Dangerous, the Wings, as I think you have as well, Rob. And you really should be bad. Oh my God.
Yeah, I know. I need to sort that out.
So what have you and Radis been playing?
I think we did it the before the last time, or the last time however many weeks ago it was, 5 weeks ago that we recorded the last playing one. Let's stop pretending. We record 4 of these in one night, and I don't remember when the last one was. It's like the Late Show.
So
it's always
it was
same
about
crowd.
It was about a month ago. It went live because I remember talking to Adam about doing it, and we played some last week as well.
Right.
I put a load of videos of it on my YouTube channel. It's good. I'm not sure I've completely got the hang of it all yet, because I know there's certainly something to coordinating your jumps and stuff. But there was totally a moment where Matt got interdicted when we were like en route to somewhere, and then we were able to lock onto his wake, and then me and Adam came into the rescue.
Yeah, there's a setting in the Wings tab where you can. I can't remember what it's called, but it's something like if one of us drops out of. I can't remember what it's called. Hyperspace, let's call it. Everybody else will.
Super Cruise.
If one of us drops out of Super Cruise, everyone else will drop out of Super Cruise, and that means that if one person gets interdicted, everybody else will drop out or drop into their interdiction as well. The way it handles all of that is really, really graceful. Except if you leave it off and somebody arrives at a station before you, you then get dumped into space in the middle of nowhere. Like,
yeah, I think we just had it a lot. I think where one of us, normally Matt, I think was running off to the next system, and then I don't think we were. You have to basically click on them and select like lock drive to them or something. But then I think you've got to be within a certain range, and it won't
you can't
send
jump
you
across
off.
the galaxy to them. You have to,
and you've got to have your throttle up to go
it's
into it as well. So
super drive rules. You have to be pointing in the right direction and this kind of stuff and all the rest of it. But it does handle it really well, and I'm not really sure. I think they need something else to make it more stuff going on. But I'm not really sure what it is. Do you need to build your own space stations? Do you need to go planet side? I think there's
what to just make it more like involving, like things to do.
I mean, it's okay to grind stuff and make money and buy the ships and trade shit and mine and all of that, but the ability to do stuff with a group of people that you know where they're going to be could introduce some extra levels to the game that it doesn't have at the moment. You could add
long-term objectives.
You could add like a story arc that starts in one place and takes you across the galaxy to get somewhere else, and along the way shit happens to your group. So it becomes more like a small novel than just right, here you are, not going to tell you what to do, your choice. Buy some shit, mine some shit, find some pirates. I mean, that's all okay, but I couldn't do that as much as I think I wanted to when I backed Elite.
No, I think if you pay attention to the Galnet feed, I think there's some very light storyline stuff that you can get involved in.
Yeah.
I think there was there was an excess of slaves in a certain area, which meant there was a good chance you'd have slaves to pick up at a reduced price. But those take them elsewhere.
Yeah, but those aren't story elements. They're navigation beacons for the quests that you've picked up from the bulletin board that says, free the slaves, bring us 2 slaves and we'll give them work here. So, I mean, that's...
Oh, no, that's actually economic stuff that's being highlighted in those news updates. Yeah. And if you pay attention to those, I think there is some stuff you can get involved in, but it involves having a mega jump distance to be able to get involved in all that stuff, because it's all happening at certain parts of the galaxy that I don't even think I'm anywhere near, to be quite honest.
It doesn't take that long to get across. I mean, obviously the galaxy is enormous, but if they had a lot of story stuff, I'd probably still click through it anyway, but it does feel like they've just given us a playground and we have to make our own shit up. And that's okay, but when you're with other people, I'd like to have the ability to, or it would be nice to have the ability to maybe create missions for each other or for other people. Like, not as crazy as Eve does or other things have done, but even just if you're mining somewhere and you need some fuel, to be able to add a mission that says, would you mind very much getting me some fuel things, dropping them off here, and I'll pay you this much for it. This kind of social interaction.
Maybe a couple of escort missions, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, this is what I found when we played. Like, I just did find myself, after taking down about 20 bounties, it was like, oh, so what do we do now? And it's like, well, we go back and get our money.
Yeah.
Okay, now what do we do?
Yeah.
And in some cases, you might fly too close to a sun and blow up before you can collect said bounties.
Well, I mean,
that's less said about that.
That's a problem in chair, not in computer.
Well, yeah, and a problem with like flying too close to the sun and not being able to go into Super Cruise because of the mass level that I'm near.
Did you not
God,
see
that
the
was a
big
total
orange
nightmare.
glowy thing, or whatever it was, white, red?
No, because it was a white hot blue thing.
Okay.
It was a Nova, and it totally fucked me. But anyway, enough about that. I was ever so angry at the time. But no, that's why.
You've not hung on
That's
to
why
that.
I think you need to. That's why I think you need to kind of go into the game with a bit of an idea of what you want to do. Now, me and Adam are talking about doing some mining, just because I haven't tried that yet. And I've heard it's a bit tedious, but I don't care. I just want to know what it's about.
But you could do mining while other people were like kind of defending you, couldn't you? So then
you could do mining while people were just doing proximity and getting rid of any potential threats or people with bounties.
That kind of thing sounds great. A moment ago, where you said you'd killed 20 people and then well, what do we do now? Go and get the money. That's just MMO questing. And that's okay, because trading is really just MMO questing.
And that's okay, because the combat in Elite is fucking awesome.
With the Rift, I haven't played it without the Rift for bloody weeks now. It's amazing. There is an Elite launcher called Elite Launch. If you search for Elite Dangerous Launch, I think it's just like a tiny EXE that you can run before... you run it first and then you run the game, and it lets you do stuff like set the HUD colours, change the colour scheme. Cool. You can tell it to run in Rift mode before you get in, so you don't have to try and faff around with that sodding menu in side by side and stuff. So setting up a colour scheme that works beautiful in the Rift. I've got green text with blue highlights. It's so readable in VR. It's amazing. Yeah. And I don't have to go in and tweak a load of shit to make it work properly. I just run this tiny little program to start with, launch Elite, it's side by side, and I'm good to go. There's no faffing around with turning Rift stuff off or Oculus runtime nonsense. It just works. It's a beautiful thing.
What ships are we rocking at the moment? I recently got myself an adder because I'd been away from the game for a while, and when I left it, I'd just gone full on Eagle, ripped out the cargo holds, was just interdicting fools and taking them on.
Interdicting fools? Wow, okay.
Yeah, well,
give me a gold
just
chain,
AI.
fool. Okay.
But when I came back to the game, I was going to go back to a Sidewinder just because I wanted something that had a little bit more flexibility in what I could do with it. Right. So I was about to do that, and then I was at the shipyard and realised I actually had enough if I stripped my Eagle to get a adder, which is a bit of a slow piece of shit, but it's got loads of hard points and cargo capacity, and it's cool. It's a bit weird though, because it's like you're driving a car, because you're all over one side of it.
I wondered what it was in your video. I've not seen. It's like you were just off to one side, Millennium Falcon-ish.
Yeah, absolutely. But it felt like it did feel when I was flying with the other two, because Matt's in a Cobra and Adam's in a Viper. I did feel definitely felt like I was a bit like a slow coach, but I was still managing to take out enough. It's proof enough that I was able to, like, there's no argument about it. Literally, you get the bounty, you know that the guy's got a 30 grand bounty, you get 10 grand, you know you've done as much damage. But I definitely think the guys were like, the others were sort of trying to lay off a bit to make sure that I landed enough hits on the thing as well. Because at least that's the sense I get, and you will if you watch the video.
Yeah.
Because they are flying right off to these things, right up their arses, and I'm like, hang on a minute, boost! Trying to get... So sorry, which ships are you guys flying at the moment?
I've got the Cobra Mark III from the whatever it was, Founders Early Access Beta Tester Doobie thing.
Oh, you had just got one of those, did you?
Yeah, just got one of those for being one of those backers. So didn't have to work for that. I did work for it in the test last year, though. I earned the money and bought that through my hard-earned money.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
But I'd got some reputation issues since then, so I started a new character a couple of months ago, just before the Wings stuff, I think.
I've never done the wipe.
I was going to say I did the wipe recently as well.
So you're just in basic.
It's okay. You know, it's not a thing.
Well, the thing is, I haven't really started playing the game yet.
No.
I've spent quite a few hours playing it, but Do you know what I mean? I haven't really kind of committed to.
You're just
that.
testing it.
Exactly. Yeah, just trying to learn how to play it. Really.
I'm really not sure I'm going to commit to it as much as I want to. I will do one day, perhaps when I retire. Should I retire?
I don't think I'm going to. I think it's going to be a weekly fix for me.
And I think that would be enough.
And also,
I'd be happy with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, like I said before, it's like in VR as well. It's a bit of an experiential thing. Like sometimes you just feel like bombing around in a spaceship and looking at some suns and stuff, and like you can just kind of drop in and do that.
I've been finding myself just flying around planets because I can look up at them. So you get that, like you do in some movies where you're flying over a planet and it's just you get the circle above your head as you're going around it. Yeah, fuck, it looks beautiful. It just looks beautiful. I know you're just looking at a sphere with a texture on, but it does feel like you're doing that stuff. And
I still get that just on a screen. To be honest, I know it's not as good, but
I mean it's the same thing. I'm sure Adam has it with he's got track IR, hasn't he? Or has he got track?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know.
I mean,
don't know how much he is.
There is something about experiencing the scale of a planet or a sun, though, in VR that doesn't translate into 2D. There's
even the stations.
Do you know what I mean?
When you find a station that's got the spinny bits and on the cogs and the wheels and stuff, I still find myself slamming into those at quite high speed because I'm just, oh wow, look at this, and not looking where I'm going. Then it's
Well, I mean, a space game, it's really all about scale. That's all you really have to work with, isn't it? You've got these massive massive base stations, and you've got these massive planets and stars and suns and also like a lot of the ships are really huge as well, and that's really all you have to work with. So that's why VR kind of makes so much sense for space combat in particular, that it allows you to actually experience the size of those objects. But for me that was always like a huge part of what made it fun to play in VR. That you could just kind of just take in the scale of an object, and that's I think that's a cool thing.
Cool. Well, I'm going to be playing it tomorrow, so if you guys are about,
I think we'll be.
See you in space. And I think that's probably a good place to end it.
Okay.
This has been the Not Playing Podcast in partnership with notlistening.co.uk. You can get me on Twitter at BobbyRocker, BOBIROKA.
I'm at EboGB, which is EBOWGB.
And I'm at PatrickJKAY.
You can contact us on email at notplayingpodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at notplayingpod. You can find the show notes for this show at notlistening.co.uk. And if you're listening to us on iTunes, then please do give us a review. Anyway, that's all for now. Thanks for listening. See ya!
Bye.
Goodbye, dear listener.